Hi, I'm Sean Boisen, again from Logos Bible Software. Didn't come with a particular position, and we're in a somewhat different market or activity than I think some of the other people in the room, and so really I wanted to share some of the things we've been doing and how they might pertain to the area of open annotation. Just briefly, Logos is the world's largest Bible software publisher. We have about 40,000 books available in our platform. That includes all kinds of ancient works in all kinds of exotic languages. Primarily focused on a desktop client for Windows and Mac, though we do have a variety of other applications for mobile, and some of that information is available in the browser as well. And so if you sort of start from thinking about a Kindle, but then upgrade that to really think of an integrated digital library system, you'll start to get the idea of what we provide. I don't really have time to demonstrate it or give you a better sense, but in addition to, of course, the basic capabilities of reading and search, we do quite a bit of automated aggregation of information and reporting of information within the platform. So if you want to study a word or you study a passage, you sort of enter a little information, click on go, and then you get 10 or 20 different kinds of information all aggregated together in the blink of an eye. So we are a for-profit company. We're about 400 employees in Bellingham, Washington. I direct our content innovation department, which really is the group that's responsible for a lot of annotation and curation of data that we use to then annotate the original text and the integration that makes all of this magic happen. And so that hyperlinking of information to sort of integrate across the platform, that's really what I do. A great deal of the value of our software for a buyer, why would you buy us instead of buying a Kindle essentially, is because we do a great deal of editorial annotation ourselves. We are enriching the text with information. That includes a great deal of linguistic analysis, where we might take a Greek text, add the original sort of dictionary form, the lemma, morphological analysis, syntactic analysis. We've created our own quite novel semantic lexicon, and then done contextual analysis, where we've gone through each word in the Bible in the original text. A word like logos, which is a Greek word, has probably 10 different meanings, in the same way that the word word in English is ambiguous. We've gone through and disambiguated those, so in this context, we've told you which meaning we think it is, tied that to our own lexicon. We've actually gone through every reference in the Bible, not just the names, but the pronouns, the descriptive phrases, and even places where you have a verb with no subject, and said, well, who do we think that is? So if you want to search for places that mention Jesus and Peter in the same verse, we can find the verse where it's he said to him. Right? If you think about that for a minute, that's actually kind of a mind-blowing ability that doesn't exist in many other places in the world. Because we're working on the source languages text, the Bible is primarily written in Greek and Hebrew, we care a lot about how we migrate those annotations to English, Spanish, other modern texts, and so we usually annotate on the original text and then have a somewhat elaborate system by which we've aligned, let's say, the Greek text of the New Testament to half a dozen different contemporary English versions at the word level. So we know how to give the reader reading an English text the information that we've annotated on the Greek text. And as we're creating these novel databases, we're using them to annotate the original text. So, for example, we have a project right now where we're identifying important cultural practices in the biblical era, things like money lending at ridiculous interest rates known as usury. That's referenced at a few points in the biblical text, but in fact it's also discussed in a number of other contemporaneous texts outside the Bible that might shed a lot more light on that particular cultural practice, which is mentioned but not necessarily described in the biblical text, because of course they all knew what that was. So to give people the ability to sort of follow that ontological knowledge back to other original sources, that's the kind of things we're doing. But in addition to all of our editorial annotation, then of course we allow user annotation on the text, on the various other resources that we provide. That includes highlighting, notes that may be attached to a resource, may be detached from a resource, excerpts of a resource. We carry all the bibliographic information along with that in case you want to export it to some other format. Other specialized document types, again, I don't really have much time to talk about these things, but I'd be glad to interact more with others later. And then the ability to display these various kinds of annotations either through visual overlays on our platform, again, some ability to export. We are actually building our own social network called faithlife.com where you can share those annotations with people in your church or your small group Bible study or just other people who are interested in an area that you're interested in. And so we have some ability to manage how those are displayed, whose annotations you want to see, whose annotations you want to hide. We're working through all those issues. So there are a couple of particular areas of interest for us in open annotation. Again, the software platform I'm describing is not out on the web, right? It's a desktop application that you download. But as we continue to reach out beyond just our own platform, there's a couple of specific issues. One is just standardizing reference schemes. So you're probably familiar with the general Bible reference scheme of, book, chapter, verse. We care even down to the word level, and there really is no standardization down at the word level. And even at the book, chapter, verse level, it's not nearly that simple, right? So Psalm 9 and 10 are two different psalms in most Protestant canons. In the Catholic Bible, they're both Psalm 9. They're concatenated. And so even to say, well, Psalm 10:1 means something different depending on which edition you're talking about. There are, to my knowledge, no open sort of accepted standards for how to solve those problems. We've solved them internally for ourselves. There is one OSIS standard, but it doesn't quite address that level of granularity, and it's sort of fallen on hard times. Came out about 10 years ago and hasn't seen much life since. Cross-lingual word alignment problem, because we do a lot of data that way, and we'd love to be able to work with other scholars or others who annotate the text with their own information so we can interoperate with them. But that requires, again, some amount of standardization that simply doesn't exist right now. Likewise, our own semantic annotation of data sets, we'd like to be able to use others and share with others, and things like bibliographic references, and of course, importing and exporting annotations from other Bible software packages. There are others out there. So that's just a quick sprint through some of the things we're interested in.
Thanks very much, Sean.
Okay.
And now we're going to, So, and the idea of anchoring across languages, across different language versions. Oh, that's scary.